I had been exploring the idea that the culture might be at a reasonably positive tipping point, that the identity politics-driven, derivative entertainment we've been subjected to and divided by in recent years might finally have exhausted itself and run up against a wall of both financial and critical underachievement, might finally have reached a point where those at the top of the studio chain, who for so long had indulged all these disproportionate impulses, might have finally come around to the idea that the slings and arrows on Twitter and from elements within their own workforce are worth bearing given the ambivalence or derision toward the rehashing and bastardizing of classic IPs. I felt we'd turned the corner when Top Gun Maverick, a classic, decent action drama with a robust and likable traditional male protagonist with agency, garnered $1.5 billion at the box office. I thought it when Roald Dahl's estate announced that sensitivity readers had attempted to gouge out much of the magic from Dahl's books, then abruptly had to backtrack when writers from across the ideological spectrum in the media panned the decision as pressy and censorious. And I felt that when trailers for such products were being ratioed so extraordinarily, and when popular outlets like Honest Trailers and Pitch Meeting joined in the chorus of derision of Velma, that the game might be up, that it would lead to a course correction, or at least a grudging rethink within the studios. I had marshaled all these arguments and was busy organizing it all together on my dubious knockoff software, when we all found ourselves contending with the trailer for Peter Pan and Wendy. Peter Pan is so affecting because the reveries of childhood are cast with running shadows or incursions of the adult world. As an infant, Peter ran away to live amongst the fairies, returned to find the window barred and another boy asleep in his bed. He absconded to Neverland, but his experience left him with a profound mistrust of adulthood. Barry's playful tone belies Peter's darkness and complexity. He is scarred by his earlier rejection, troubled by a shadowy understanding of his loneliness, yet unable to allow for being loved. But why delve into that when you can have it centered on Wendy as a young female protagonist, essentially a swashbuckling adventure with a young heroine that forefronts empowerment and independence, with Wendy divested of her sensual maternal empathy and reimagined as a stout, resilient action drama character with maximum agency, and reimagined as a stout, resilient action drama character with maximum agency, resilient action drama character with maximum agency, action drama character with maximum resilient action drama character with maximum agency. In a spectacle that adds nothing to the mystique, allure, or magic of the original work, and will inevitably be frenetic, feature snarky dialogue, have charming themes subsumed into ideology and action tropes, and divide the internet for the 1000th time. Peter Pan is now Indian. Tinkerbell is black. Expanding the scope of the cast and imbuing it with ethnic diversity, allowing for a wide range of young actors, is something that could be done unobtrusively, that in not drawing undue attention to it, could be seamless and subtle, allowing the viewer to more quickly and readily accustomize to these changes by focusing on the acting of the young cast. But why do that when instead you can, in the first 30 seconds of your trailer, shovel the stuff out front deliberately? Similarly, The Lost Boys now includes Lost Girls, because pertly swiping away such limitations is enlivening and bold, irrespective of a major point of The Lost Boys being that they've never seen a girl before. You could have perhaps stroked down any rankled feathers with witty dialogue, recontextualizing it in a way that would be amusing and engaging. But why do that when you can just have the characters stridently say it out loud, in a take-it-or-leave-it kind of way that is grating and shot through with the kind of identity politics stridency and stubbornness that has divided audiences time and time again? And why doesn't kids empowering gender inclusivity go both ways? Why can't it be 3 little maids and manservants from School Are We? Why can't Nancy Drew be reimagined as Nathaniel Drew? Or the Babysitters Club include a boy babysitter? Or Pippi Longstocking be Patrick Longstocking? You could have Wendy best her adversaries using her wiles and wits, her stamina, and have her cavort and dodge and weave away from much older, bulkier grown-ups, laying little traps, evasively sliding around ropes and sails, prompting those foes to bungle and trip over and knock into each other in inventive choreography. But why do that when you can have her as an adolescent girl pit herself physically as every bit the equal of these staunch sailor men, taking them on, or even taking on 2 at a time with a sword? You could explore the delicate psychology with which traditionally Mr. Darling is also the actor who plays Captain Hook, and look for various half-conscious or latent Freudian themes, or the equally delicate idea that Mr. Darling, always in pursuit of practicality, responsibility, decorum, and common sense, acts in a faint way as a tyrant for the children in the Darling household, and that there are parallels here for him as Captain Hook, similarly bent on obtaining Pan and subduing ideas of magic, imagination, and freedom in youth. But why have that when you can just have him as a generic old white guy antagonist? You could have music which is sensual and appeals to the imagination, is charming, has period-style instrumentation or melody, has dynamics and subtlety, and invites or encourages emotion in viewers of all ages. But why have that when you can have overpowering, smashing waves of orchestral synths and a wall of sound that is exhausting and unrelenting, like being in a club when the drugs have gone bad? Hey! Can you keep it down? I'm trying to make a video! Shut up! And what is the inevitable consequence of all this? The trailer getting ratioed into oblivion. People don't want classic stories put in a blender with shows from the Nickelodeon channel, discarded tracks from Hans Zimmer on meth, and the prissy ideological proclivities of revisionist, piggybacking Hollywood writers. In other words, entertainment intended to encourage and enlighten you to see the world as the writers ideally envisage it, irrespective of however Barry actually saw it.